So it's no secret that one of the Rams' biggest problems right now is our offensive line, but they have finally traded for an offensive lineman in Kevin Dotson, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Let's get into it. So here we are on the Rams wire, and we're going to be going over two different articles today: how the Kevin Dotson trade impacts the Rams depth chart, and PFF grades show where Kevin Dotson excels and where he struggles. So we're going to get a full kind of breakdown on who Kevin Dotson is, whether or not he's going to be starting, and what his role is going to be with the Rams going forward. So here we are. You can see with roster cuts looming before Tuesday's deadline. So I'm making this on Monday. You should be getting this on Tuesday before the roster cuts come out. But the Rams are shaking things up with the offensive line before they trim down to 53 players. On Sunday night, the Rams agreed to a deal with the Steelers that will send guard Kevin Dotson to the Rams in a swap of day 3 picks in 2024 and 2025. So it's not the blockbuster trade that we're used to seeing the Rams make in the offseason, but hey, we actually want to hold on to first round picks at some point in our illustrious Rams career. But it is a move that changes the equation on the O-line. A position group that is already facing some uncertainty and a lack of continuity among the 5 starters. This is something that the Rams often have trouble with, is just having the ability to stay with one group of people, whether it's injuries or whether it's Sean McVay losing confidence in players. It just never happens. Except for the season that we actually won the Super Bowl, where we had a lot of continuity. Yeah, with only 2 weeks until the season starts, it's hard to imagine the Rams shuffling the line again by plugging in Dotson at guard. However, this certainly isn't good news for Tremaine Ankrum or Joe Noteboom, the 2 players that have been competing at right guard. Obviously, Steve Avila is going to be the starter. He was a very early pick for the Rams and someone who has been playing very well. The Rams might view this strictly as a depth move, but more likely they see Dotson as a future starter at right guard. With Ankrum penciled in as a starter there for now, Los Angeles could be looking at Dotson as a quality not only a quality backup, but someone who could take over at some point this season. And honestly, with how good he is at pass blocking, I wouldn't be mad at it. Noteboom is one whose future is up in the air after this trade. He's already been relegated to a backup role despite the team's being the team's highest paid lineman. He's getting paid like $14 million, I think, this year, which is pretty absurd. But now it might be even tougher to keep him on the 53-man roster. The Rams wouldn't save any money by cutting Noteboom. That's why I think we probably shouldn't cut him personally, just in case depth goes. Someone gets hurt. But if they can find a taker on the trade market, maybe they'll pull a trigger on a deal to offload his bloated contract. That could explain his peculiar absence from the team drills because of an undisclosed injury that Sean McVay refuses to clarify. Logan Bruss is also a player to watch after the Dotson acquisition. He's struggled for 2 straight off seasons, and while he's moving to right tackle, the Rams didn't rule out him moving back to guard at some point. Possibly, maybe back up. Steve Avila if he gets hurt, something of that nature for Logan Bruss. But Logan Bruss probably is better at tackle. He just needs to improve in general. Dotson has started 30 games in 3 seasons, and the Rams will pay him a base salary of $2.7 million. So it's not a tiny contract. It's not huge, but it's not tiny. And it's significant enough to make him a future starter for the Rams. Don't be surprised if the next shoe to drop is Noteboom being cut or traded. I really hope we don't cut Noteboom, but I also don't think that Noteboom really has that much trade value either, so we'll just have to see what actually happens with him. But this move impacts him more than anyone on the roster, possibly Logan Bruss as well. So that's what's happening with the roster, but let's talk about who Kevin Dotson is and if he's going to help us. So Kevin Dotson has actually played very well at a lot of different times for the Steelers, and I'm surprised that they wanted to offload him. It's going to go over it's unclear if the Rams see Dotson as an immediate starter. Personally, I kind of just hope we do start him at right guard. If he does well, getting into the Rams offense in the next 2 weeks, I would like to see him start at right guard, see Brian Allen at center, Steve Avila at left guard, Alaric Jackson at left tackle, and then Havenstein at right tackle. I think that's a very solid middle tier offensive line group, personally, as long as he does transition well to the Rams. But Dotson has started 30 games in his career, so he has gained plenty of experience in the NFL, and that's what I like about him. Obviously, the Steelers didn't think very highly of Dotson coming into the season, as he was slated to be a backup. Not sure why that happened. He actually ended out the year pretty well with the Steelers. But Pro Football Focus grades for Dotson give us some idea of where he excels on the field and where he can improve. Here are Dotson's run blocking and pass blocking grades in the last 3 years. So it's very obvious where Dotson is good, where Dotson is not as good. According to PFF's numbers, in 2020 he had an 87 pass blocking grade, 2021 78, and 2022 77. So a bit of a drop off from his first year, but his run back blocking has actually gone up. So pass blocking down a bit, run blocking up a bit. He's becoming a bit more well-rounded. But 2020 55, 2021 61, and 2022 61 as well for his run blocking grade. So he's a better run blocker in general, but just because he's not pass blocker in general, just because he's not that great at run blocking doesn't mean that we cannot start him. He is an elite pass blocker. And that is something we need to keep Matthew Stafford's pocket clean so that we can get him to Cooper Kupp and get him to throw to Puka Nacua and Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell. We need time for these plays to develop, and that's honestly what we need is a good pass blocker, personally, from my perspective. It's easy to see Dotson is a much better pass blocker and pass protection than he is in the running game. As a rookie, he didn't give up a single sack and allowed just one pressure on 219 pass blocking snaps. That's what we need. In 2021, he allowed 3 sacks and 10 pressures, which are still very good numbers. He played 354 snaps in pass protection. Last year, he gave up a career high 4 sacks, just one more than the year before, and 16 pressures, but he also played a career high 686 snaps as a pass blocker. So he almost doubled his snaps, and he only allowed 4 sacks. That obviously we don't want, Matthew Stafford to get sacked at all, but those are pretty solid numbers. Penalties have plagued Dotson in his career, particularly last season. He was called for 12 penalties, and that could be why the Steelers want to kind of keep him shelved a bit more. And like I said, which is the second most of any guard in the NFL, and his 16 pressures allowed were the 10th fewest of all qualifying guards in the league, which gives you an idea of the job he did in pass protection. As a former 4th-round pick, Dotson has some talent, especially in the passing game, where he's been consistent blocker on the interior, but he needs to cut down on penalties and improve as a run blocker. So this is a new fresh start. It's a new system. It's new players around him, and I think we just need to give him a chance. He has a very high ceiling. He has done well in the NFL. Personally, I think if we start him at right guard, we're going to be better off than if we start anyone else. So let's give ourselves the best chance to succeed. That's what I say. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below what you would do if you were Sean McVay. What would you start him? Would you just keep him on the shelf until an injury occurs, or we feel like we need a change up? Do you think he should start right away? Let me know in the comment section below. But other than that, make sure that you guys leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.